Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Pan Future Society podcast, episode number 25. This is a podcast for, it's a science and futurism podcast for people who don't know they should be listening to science and futurism podcasts. I am not a trained scientist myself, but these topics fascinate me, so thank you for joining me on this journey. If you're new, or if you've been with me since the beginning, thank you very, very much. Today is Saturday, November 12th, 2016, and yes, we have made it 25 episodes. Well, if I sound a little funny to you this morning, it's because I managed to catch myself a cold when I was visiting some friends in Portland last week. Viruses are fascinating things, and right now my nose is full of them. Anyway, moving on to other big news this week. I certainly can't let this episode go without at least saying a few things about Trump's election to be President of the United States. I've tried to stay fairly neutral politically on the show. That was my intention from the beginning. I don't even consider myself a liberal or a conservative. I don't put myself into a single camp like that. But what I am is a supporter of science and a defender of science. And frankly, the Trump administration will be the most unscientific, scientifically illiterate, ignorant administration we've ever had. Trump thinks climate change is a hoax. His vice president thinks that you can fix gay people with medical treatments. The list goes on and on. So rather than ranting for 20 minutes about this, I'm just going to say, if you are listening to this show, I'm assuming that you are a supporter of science. And whether you voted for Trump or not, I don't really care. But if you do really support science, keep an eye out. Watch what your elected officials are doing. And if they are attacking science, ignoring actual facts, do something about it. Volunteer, get involved, write to your senators, you join some groups. There's some groups. Check out the Transhumanist Party. Atheist David McAfee has started the Party of Reason and Progress. I think you can find that on Facebook. Get involved with something. Make sure that science and our progress doesn't just fall apart because a few small-minded people think that their own personal agendas outweigh the value of our long arc toward equality and progress for everybody. And that's all I've got to say about that. Let's get on with the news of the moment. The first item this week, monkeys regain control of paralyzed legs with help of an implant. At the Lausanne University Hospital in Switzerland, neurosurgeon Jocelyn Bloch implanted a device into the brain of a rhesus monkey and another device into the spinal cord of the monkey just below where the cord had been partially cut. So with this type of injury, the brain works fine, the legs worked fine, but the communication between the two was disrupted. Now, with these electrodes in the brain detecting signals and the corresponding device in the leg connected with a wireless setup, within a few seconds after they switched it on, the leg was moving, and within a few days, the monkey was able to walk again. That's something with this type of injury, even if it could be overcome, would take months and months to recover from. But this, within a few days, doesn't have apparently great balance, but it was able to walk on a treadmill. So this is some fascinating medical research here. A device, a wireless one, bridging the broken communication gap between the brain and a limb. Similar things have been done to let people move robotic arms or braces that are motorized. But this is the first time it's been done directly into the muscles that already exist in the patient. So that could be, assuming this continues to develop and works well, this could be a great option for anyone who has suffered from a certain type of paralysis. And now, it came from outer space. Alright, technically it's not in space yet, but after 20 years of construction, the James Webb Space Telescope is complete. This space telescope will now undergo extensive testing before its expected launch in October of 2018. The James Webb Space Telescope is considered the successor to the Hubble telescope, although the Hubble is also still working quite well, and the two of them will be working in conjunction. The James Webb uses 18 large mirrors. They're sort of hexagons, sort of a honeycomb pattern. They developed this so that they could fold the thing up to put it on a rocket to get it into space. Now, their testing that they're going to do is also extremely extensive because this thing will be positioned nearly 1 million miles away from the Earth. And they're putting it that far away to partly to get it into colder temperatures and to get it away from other types of interference. But this also means that if something's not quite right with it, there's no going up there and fixing it like there was with Hubble. In addition to the massive array of mirrors, it has a large solar power array that will also include a layered sun shield to keep this thing cold. In order for the instruments to work their best, they're keeping the temperature to minus 388 degrees Fahrenheit. And the primary mirror, when it's all unfolded, will be 21 feet and 6.4 meters in diameter. That is, if I recall correctly, almost 3 times the size of Hubble. So what this thing will be able to do is look farther back in time than anything we've had before. And it will give us a greater insight into the early universe, perhaps just after the Big Bang, and into early galaxy formation. It will also be making observations that can give us insight into star formation and the early stages of planetary system formation. And it will also measure physical and chemical properties of planetary systems, including our own, and it might be able to investigate the potential for life in those systems. It will be operating this colds are hard to brain with. Can't brain very well with nose full of viruses. Anyway, the instruments on this telescope are in the infrared spectrum. It has several primary and secondary instruments to observe the universe with, and it has just been completed and will be tested now, and hopefully everything goes well with its launch in about 2 years from now, and we will be getting some fantastic new insights into the universe from the James Webb Space Telescope. All right, that is your news of the moment. right, in the main segment this week, part 3 of our future of work discussions. I didn't really plan to land this episode the week right after the election, and I'm trying to wrap my head around the present moment and my hopes for the long-term picture. One of the most interesting moments of election night, which I haven't heard anybody else mention because it kind of flew by quickly, and it's certainly not at the center of attention item-wise, issue-wise. But if you're watching NBC's coverage, reporter Chuck Todd, in a discussion about jobs and who's going to make what kind of jobs, mentioned Uber, the rideshare company, and its drive to develop self-driving cars to replace all human drivers, and that is ultimately Uber's goal, is to not, all these people who've thought Uber is a great job are going to be out of a job because Uber is going to replace them with a self-driving car. This got mentioned and it just kind of flew by, but it was, I think, kind of stunning to me because this is the first time I have ever heard a reporter on a major network mention jobs being replaced by robots and AIs that won't come back. And this isn't a job that gets shipped overseas and you can somehow get it back or replace it with something else. This is just a job that goes away when self-driving cars will do that. So Chuck Todd throwing that out there, a very interesting moment. Anyway, what will you do when there are no more jobs to do? That's what I'm talking about this week, and I still believe that day will come. I still believe it will be within my lifetime that most work will be done by robots, but I can't help but feel at the very least a sense of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Certainly one way to make sure we actually do have jobs in the future is to reject science, technological progress, and reason, and regress to an early industrial manufacturing and agrarian society. But I do not believe that is even possible to achieve, and is certainly not the civilization I want to live in, nor the humanity I want to believe in. I will carry on being the hopeful pessimist that I am, hoping for the best but not being surprised at the worst. All I can do is continue pushing for progress into the future by whatever means I have, even if it is a Sisyphean task. Giving up is not an option. I am still planting trees for some future person to sit under. One possible outcome for the day when most work is not done by humans was shown to us in the Pixar film Wall-E. In that animated movie, humans have trashed the planet and fled on spaceships, awaiting a time they could return to Earth. In the meantime, they have at their disposal technology that caters to their every need. They ride on floating chairs, become lazy and fat, constantly consuming food, entertainment, whatever whim their desires seek out, all while seemingly losing the ability to interact with each other. Smartphones and the internet seem to have already put a large dent in that. It often seems to be human nature to drift toward this sort of complacency and dull behavior. I am myself guilty of this, despite always having a long list of things I should be doing, even things I know will be challenging, engaging, and ultimately satisfying. It's a tremendous chore to get moving, and a source of frustration when I can't keep the forward progress going. However, perhaps boredom will override that when we no longer spend mental and physical energy doing things we don't really want to do. A better outcome would be a utopian ideal of freedom. Time to pursue your passions, spend a lifetime learning new things every day about the universe. Meet with other people in a relaxed setting and debate the great philosophical questions. Spend your time with your family. Spend it all creating art. Travel. Soak in the beauty of the world we live in. I have said in the past, if I could choose to do one thing, it would actually not be music, it would be travel. I am compelled to make music, much the same way I must breathe and eat, but I've chosen travel, and it satisfies some need I have that nothing else can. I will never tire of the natural world, and I wish to see all of it. Over time, society has gradually moved toward more free time. In some parts of the world, we no longer work from sunup to sundown 7 days a week. We've gotten to the point where we can afford to have pursuits of the mind and heart so long as we have a decent job to support it. Continue that trend. Do what you really want to do without the judgment of society telling you it doesn't have a monetary value, therefore you can't do this as any more than a hobby a few hours a week. I have said several times on this show, be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you are today. What if that could be your life's pursuit? Education is empowerment, especially for women. All over the world, we can see how education leads to better conditions for all. There's a definite ripple effect. And no matter what level of advancement our technology achieves, it's always a good idea to have a thorough understanding of how it works and how it impacts and influences our society. I realize this sounds like a pipe dream. Bringing this kind of freedom to everyone in the world, rich and poor, no matter the circumstance of their birth, will be a monumental undertaking. Bridging to a future without money in a system with a system of universal basic income alone is a problem I can't yet wrap my head around. I've referred before to Gene Roddenberry in Star Trek, and that sort of utopian vision of the future that he had. Certainly, there are conflicts in the show. You can't hardly tell a dramatic narrative without some sort of conflict. But in general, in the background of Star Trek, people don't starve. People don't go homeless. People don't go without medical care. And yes, in the universe of Star Trek, they had to go through World War III before they got to the sort of utopian version of things. Hopefully we can skip that part. But that, even though it's science fiction is just another way to dream. And there's nothing wrong with having big dreams. Dreams exist for a reason. Dream is just another word for goal. All right, folks, there is your show for the week. Thank you, as always, so much for joining me on this journey. If you're feeling despair about the election, take a few days, take a deep breath. It goes on. It always goes on. Life goes on. Civilization goes on, well, one way or another. In the arc of history, very gradually, 2 steps forward, 1 big step back sometimes, points toward the direction of progress. And I would like to stay hopeful that we are still pointing the way toward a progressive, peaceful future for everybody. It's going to take a lot of work. It always takes a lot of work. And it always seems like, if you look at where you are now and where you've come from, we've come so far, then look ahead and think we have so far to go. We are always in the middle. And maybe that's just the nature of life, the nature of living forward in one direction in time, that we are perpetually in the middle of whatever we are doing. So don't despair. Really, if you need to, talk to somebody. There have been stories out there. Some people have committed suicide over this because they fear what might happen. So you're not alone. You're never alone. There can always be someone. Hell, email me, Sean@panfuture.org, and I will talk to anybody who needs someone to talk to. Because it's it's a mark of a good, strong civilization that we recognize that we are only as good as the least of us, and those of us who have the means need to take care of those who don't. So, as always, be better today than you were yesterday, and be better tomorrow than you were today. And I will talk to you again in the future.